Welcome, Priya Kartik with Enspire Academy. I am so pleased to have you here with us today at Empowering Educators Summit.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm really eager and happy to share our experiences and empower educators on a whole.
I want to tell the audience a little about you. It's very impressive. I mean, for one, you are the founder of Enspire Academy and you are an executive coach through it. I also know that you're a communication expert with over 20 years of experience enhancing the performance of individuals, teams, and organizations. Whether it's skills to ace your business presentations or accelerate success or transform into a thought leader, you are uniquely positioned to render a competitive advantage for your clients. Your background encompasses coaching executives from a wide variety of industries, including education, healthcare, financial services, technology, and professional services. You've developed the Enspire process, a research-based training methodology to make success a habit. In an endeavor to bring your mission into reality, you have been the founder of the Enspire Academy, helping individuals and organizations from diverse industries, geographical locations throughout the world, and through coaching, group facilitation, professional development, and training services. You are a speaker all over the world, speaking about and panel discussions that have captured the hearts and minds of listeners. And you believe in giving back to the community through intentionally recognized outreach projects and creating leaders for a better tomorrow. And I was so pleased to meet you at the Education 2.0 conference, where I felt personally uplifted and validated just through my connection with you. And certainly having you participate in this summit is an example of you living what you're preaching. And I say thank you for that.
It is a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm looking forward to a very engaging session today.
Likewise. Now we'll begin with the presentation because I know that you have a lot of good information to share with us about what you're up to in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And today, what I'm going to do is take this opportunity. I think, Jill, you are doing a fabulous job, especially this summit is going to be useful for so many educators. And I'm just trying to help a little bit on making those educators more empowered with certain skills. And that is what the presentation is all about.
Excellent. Please do share.
Okay, so I'm going to start just a second. I'm going to share the screen. There was a student in our classroom. It was a youth program. This student, the first day of the class, was sitting in a corner of the room, totally not opening the mouth and looking disinterested, while the rest of the students were energized by the games, by the activities, and also by the discussions that was going on in the classroom. One of our trainers talked to the student and found out what was happening. The student was not answering, and later we found out that he was not interested in sitting in the class at all. Now, 2 years later, the same student has successfully graduated from our program and attributes the success to the approach to training. How did this transformation from a disinterested student to a successful performer happen? It all boils down to the approach that we have in our classroom. And I'm here to help you understand the certain approaches that is going to enable the students to engage better so that you are able to become a better educator. Now, as educators, we are filled with so many responsibilities. Every day we end up doing so many tasks, as simple as coming up with the set of learning objectives, or executing our lesson plan as the way we planned it, or even creating a healthy environment where we are able to nourish our students. There was once a student in our youth program. It was the first day of the class. The student walks in, sits in a corner, does not open his mouth. While the remaining of the students were completely energized by their games, by their activities, and the discussions that we were having, this student was not opening his mouth at all. When one of our trainers walked to him and had a conversation to bring him into the class and engage with the other students, he did not show any interest. And later, we found out from him saying that he was completely disinterested in the class. He did not want to be in the classroom. Now, 2 years later, this student has successfully completed the program and attributes the success to the approach that we use for training. How did the transformation from the disinterested student to a successful performer happen? It all boils down to the approach that we have as trainers. As educators, we have a lot of responsibilities. We are filled with so many tasks that we execute on a day-to-day basis, as simple as coming up with learning objectives, executing our lesson plans effectively, and also creating a healthy and a safe environment where we can provide a nourishing place for our students to grow. And we are striving to be successful in whatever we do. And our success lies in not in completing our curriculum, but in creating an environment where the students are able to learn the skills that last a lifetime. And while we are working on this, there are many things that we can do as educators to make that engagement, make that learning possible. For that, I'm going to tell you certain techniques which you can use over a period of time and make success possible. Whenever a student, irrespective of the age, whether he or she is a child, teenager, or an adult, when they walk into a classroom, they have certain basic psychological needs. We can pause now and we can move on to the slides now. There are 3 psychological needs. And when we look into it, the first one is they have a sense, they need autonomy. Students want the freedom, the independence to make their own choices and make decisions in a classroom. And as long as we are able to understand what their sense of autonomy is, we are able to create that environment for them. The second thing that they need is competence. Naturally, as a student, when they walk in, they want to gain confidence. They want to improve their skills where they can develop the ability to execute it effectively. And thirdly, they want relatedness. They want to relate to the environment. They want an environment where they are cared for, where they are nourished, and also connect with people around them. The moment we are aware that these are the three things that the student needs, then we are able to create success, a learner-centered classroom. A learner-centered classroom is the ideal classroom for any student. And as an educator, if we are able to bring that in each and every classroom that we walk into, then learning becomes permanent. How can we bring this on a day-to-day basis? Step one is where we are in a classroom. The first thing as educators, what do? We communicate. The communication that we show in the classroom is what is going to determine the level of autonomy, the level of engagement. And whatever we say, whatever we communicate indirectly influences our students. And we call that the social cognitive theory, which says whatever we do as part of and as being an educator influences the student. They learn subconsciously the way we communicate, what we communicate, how we react, how we interact. And while doing this, if we are able to effectively communicate and give them a sense of autonomy, independence, where we give them a choice to make a decision. We're not going to give them the choice of whether to learn or not, no, but we have our own plan for the day. At that time, if we come up with options, okay, this is what we are going to do. We are going to do this first, second, and third. Which one do you want to do first? Shall we start with this or this? The moment we allow them to decide, they are able to feel that independence, that they are able to make decisions in the class. Even if we are going to assign a particular work, come up with two different challenging work that are similar and give them the choice. We want to do this or that. The moment we make that choice, make them allow to take that decision, then we are naturally helping them engage better. And they get a sense of autonomy. And this can be effectively communicated in class, and that way they are engaged. The second thing that we do as educators, yes, we are in a classroom. It is a multifaceted role where we are interacting with, say, 25 to 30 students at a time. And we need to connect with them. And it is never a one size fit all. What works for one student never works for the other. And for that, as an educator, what I need is a little clarity. A clarity about what we are doing. Clarity starting from, okay, when we are coming up with the lesson plan or how we are able to execute that in class, what is the purpose of this class? What am I trying to tell them? What am I trying to teach? How am I going to do this? Open-ended questions to ourselves bring in more clarity about what we do in a particular classroom. And similarly, communicating that with open-ended question to the students, asking them questions, okay, what are we going to learn today? Or what are the fundamentals of this? This is going to help them think, which indirectly improves their competence. The moment they are able to think and get clarity, they are more competent than before. Thirdly, as educators, we always help. Our mission is to help people. And what happens is many times, though we internally feel that we need to help, it is not communicated in the right way. And students, they do not understand that we really want to help. And that is where how we communicate or show our compassion in the classroom brings that engagement. Though we have the help, how we can communicate that compassion and support on a day-to-day basis in a classroom. The best way to bring that is allocate a time for a one-on-one session. It could be just 5 minutes in a classroom, able to connect with the student, individual students on a one-on-one level is bringing a little bit of trust. They trust us, and it becomes a two-way approach in learning. They are able to engage with the teachers better, and you are able to make a mark in their minds. And that way, you establish a communication with compassion. And as teachers, we want to have things perfect. We want the best grades. But when it comes to compassion, we need to have a trade-off between perfection to compassion. While we are working on this, on these three aspects, the communication, the clarity, and the compassion, we are able to create success in the classroom, where we are able to bring in autonomy. We are able to bring in the sense of competence, and we are able to bring in the relatedness through our communication. And the moment we are able to bring all this in each and every class, we become empowering educators.
I love it. Love it.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, good. What a great handback to the context of this summit, because it really is about empowering educators. And I hear so many echoes of the importance of the heart aspect. We had Jenna Moniz from Heart Math Institute talking about the important relatedness between the brain and the heart. And I hear that woven in to a very professional delivery of understanding the importance and the power of the conversation about, how we weave mind, body, spirit together. And the clarity piece, the compassion piece, and the, I should have been taking notes. The clarity, compassion, and give me the third one.
Clarity, compassion, and communication.
And communication, right? Yeah. So each person feels seen and valued. And I just wonder, like, let's bring it back to the boy that you started with, right? So he had no interest and he was very disengaged, not even wanting to be there. And then you were able to create this transition to an impassioned educational student. So what were the keys of how you handled that piece, that process?
That is exactly what we do. Say the learner-centered classroom. So in a classroom, every learner will be the of the I would say the core. So every learner would be the core. So that way, we are focusing on the learner as such, instead of focusing 100% on, okay, what am I going to teach? So naturally, there is a lesson plan for every educator. And yes, the lesson plan is successful only when it reaches the student.
Do you have a hard time getting the educators to buy into that learner-centeredness? It's a very different orientation if you've been kind of brought up with a transmission model to then be focused on the transformation model, which is much more student-centered.
Yeah, exactly. The good part about what we do at Enspire Academy is all tailored towards the transformation model. So where we are focused on the student, we tailor make a lot of things for the student. And though we have a curriculum, though we have a lesson plan for every class, we kind of tweak it here and there to fit the students' needs. And that's how our trainers train them.
Do your trainers go in and they do work with one teacher at a time, or do they work with the whole school? What's your process for creating that kind of change?
With regard to the training system, what we have, yes, it is a complete set of trainers. Everybody go through this training process, and they don't work on one-on-one basis, but that is a classroom. The classroom might have anywhere from 10 to 20 students, and it works as a classroom as a whole.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just curious, like, we're talking about transformation in some ways. There's also something to be said for once something works, stay steady with that as well. When do you know, like, we need to go deeper into this versus, nope, we really need to shift it up and change it and create a transformed learning environment? So how do you know when to stick with something and when to really, like, say this needs to be changed up?
It all depends on the engagement level. So the first thing as educators, what we need to know is uh, observe. I would use the word observe what is happening around. Observation is key. And we observe not just the verbal cues, the nonverbal cues that the students give to us. Sometimes you have a disinterest on the face, they kind of sulk, they are distracted. So the moment we are observant of their verbal and nonverbal cues, then we are able to understand them better. It's all about how we are able to understand them, what their mindset is, and helping them come to us through some kind of coaching. And that way we are able to make sure that they are interested. And when in a classroom, naturally you start off with, okay, discussing the ideas, discussing what is something we are going to teach today in the class, and those things start off. And there is a point of time when we need to leave that plan at one point and focus on the student based on the verbal and the nonverbal cues that the trainer or the teacher is observing in the classroom.
And those nonverbal cues are important because those are a form of communication unto themselves, right? So when the students feel valued as in terms of being seen, even if they're not speaking, but they're being seen and listened to and attended to, it becomes a very different power structure rather than just, you will sit there and take notes and feed it back. And that it's much more expansive and it's much more egalitarian in the power structure.
Yeah.
I like the difference talking about the sage on the stage versus the guide by the side. And I hear in your talk about being learner-centered, that it's very much about becoming more of a facilitator as a teacher rather than dominating.
Exactly. Facilitate, a teacher is nothing but a facilitator, facilitates learning, facilitates engagement, facilitates communication for that matter. And that is what we need in every class. With the students need to be given opportunities to express themselves either in a formal or informal manner. And that way we are just bringing that discussion out, and through those discussions learning happen. One favorite thing that I tell all my trainers is, teach as a teacher, you should never teach, and ask questions.
Wow. That's a good
Don't teach,
difference, right? Because then it gets them spinning.
Get them started, crank them up.
Exactly. Well, you're talking about the body piece, when how they're communicating, even if they're not paying attention, that's a form of communication in itself. How do you integrate the mind, body, and the spirit, right? Because that spirit piece is like wanting to be there and wanting to pay attention versus not. And so if they're actively fidgeting, then how do we shift that? What are some tools that you use to shift that? You talked about the power of choice, for, inviting them, asking questions as an invitation. Do you consciously work also with the body, like through breathing or mindfulness? Like, what are the ways you integrate all aspects of a being?
When we are training students, we naturally help them develop the confidence from within. So that is part of any kind of training process. It need not be a confidence training program for that matter. Any training program needs to help the students develop a positive mindset towards the learning by itself. And it is a responsibility of the teacher or the coach to bring that happen in the classroom. It need not be always about, okay, you need to get a good grade. The focus on grades or focus on being successful is not required at that point of time, how are these skills going to help them on a day-to-day basis, and how their life is going to be better by learning all these things, and how they would make a difference in themselves over a period of time when they're going to be paying attention in class. So the moment we are able to instill a positive attitude towards the subject in that they are learning in the class, we are able to work with their mind. And the moment they are developing a positive attitude about what they are learning, then the mind naturally affects the body. So naturally, so that's why we are able to see the nonverbal cues, as I told you in the previous time, because the mind affects the body. When I'm distracted, my body, I cannot change my posture or my body language. It just follows my mind. So that way, everything comes together. And with the mind and the body and the spirit, so all connected together, we are able to bring that in the classroom. It is not a one-day session where you do some meditation or anything, but yes, all these are great tools, but depends on the age of the student as well. And we have an adult program where everybody is about 35, and a lot of those things might work, but with a younger student, it might not. So we need to get down to their level and try to communicate to them so that their mind, body, and spirit is engaged.
Do you mostly focus on the high schoolers on up, or?
We have both high school and adult training groups. So do for workshops for everybody.
Okay. And then is technology an important part of the path? That do you weave technology in a strong way, or?
With the current situation, I would say we need to embrace technology. It has worked out advantages in many situations because there are different types of learners. There are visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. So depending on who the student is, we can give them the option. Say, for example, if we have a video, if I have made a video of the set of instructions that I need to give or the lessons that I need to make, I can share that with the student and they can watch it whenever they want it, apart from making them say that, okay, the classes happen only in this particular time and you need to learn whatever need to be happening in that particular time. Then it's kind of restricting. It was the case several years back, but right now we have a lot of other technological tools where the students can get more freedom in trying to learn what they want to learn, as long as they're able to learn it. That's what the goal of a teacher.
And going back to our title here, empowering educators through communication, collaboration, and creativity. Does the creativity interweave with the technology? How do you facilitate the creativity as an aspect of the overall environment?
With regard to when it comes to creativity, it's all about getting the clarity part of it. So with the moment we are clear about whatever we are doing and whatever they are learning and getting some open-mindedness, then they are able to naturally be creative with what they do. Even say, for example, when the kids are doing an experiment, they're able to think out of the box when they know what is the end goal of this experiment.
Mm. And the end goal, do you work with rubrics? How do they know how they are to be measured? Do you encourage rubrics very much as part of it?
Rubrics are good tools for educators, for them to have a clear idea about where the student is, an evaluation system for us. But with regard to communicating that to the student, instead of giving a rubric, this is what you need to follow, and these are, I would prefer the word guideline rather than a rubric. Rubric is a very hardcore do's and don'ts that we are trying to give, which is sometimes kills creativity. And guidelines is, okay, this is the overview that I'm trying to expecting, but surprise me, think out of the box, come and do something that's going to make me so happy. So at that time, the they are able to put in their heart and soul into whatever they do instead of just following a bunch of sentences. They're able to think out of the box.
Nice. And what about the collaboration piece? How do you encourage them to work together?
It's full of projects. I believe in the last thing we do at Enspire Academy is lecture. Lectures are boring, whether it is going to be a teenager or an adult sitting in a class. It's not work at all. So what the best way to do is give a lot of collaborative projects, even if it is they need not take it home. You can very well do it right there. Give them 15 minutes, 20 minutes. This is the goal. This is what you're going to do. You work as a team and come back with the results. So immediately you are able to give them feedback right there. So at that time, when we are doing a collaborative project, and when we are dividing them into teams, and once they finish it, we're giving them feedback, they're able to accept it a lot more than a letter or grade which says that no, this was B, this was C, and this was A. It doesn't work that way. Instead, if we give them valuable verbal feedback saying that, hey, you could have done this in this way, you could have probably thought of these particular options instead of this. So that way they are able to keep track of what is something that they need to do the next time. And that's when you witness growth.
Mm. And one of the things that it seems like this is reinforcing is I've noticed that when the students do presentations and share their learning with others as part of the structure of the classroom, that competence in being able to give a presentation builds the confidence in like, yeah, I could do it, right? Like maybe it's really hard for an introvert to actually share, but when it's focused on the knowledge rather than on the person, then you can show up with this knowledge as a bridge to share. And especially if you're connected to it personally, then it becomes like, oh my goodness, I did it. And it becomes a natural confidence builder as well.
Mhm.
So I'm hearing
Yep.
that project
There's
based
one
learning
thing
came in there.
about, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was
There's
just hearing that
thing that,
project, it's one of the themes coming up a lot is the value and importance of project-based learning. And I'm hearing it here as well.
yeah. So yeah, when we talk about confidence, there's always, which comes first, whether it is a confidence to present or the press, because of presentation, I get confidence. But what I believe in is confidence comes first. We need to instill that confidence and give them opportunities that will make them perform the ideal situation so that the confidence is boosted for each and every activity. So when I say, for example, start off with facing some 500 people as audience, then the confidence is not going to come at that point of time. I need to start with small steps, challenge myself, build the muscle of courage. And over a period of time, I build confidence and I build my skill together. And that is a more holistic approach rather than, okay, I'm just going to do. And I have had many adult clients who come and say that, yes, I do corporate presentations, but I'm still feeling terrified whenever I need to know, when I get to know that I need to do a presentation. But that is not confidence. Confidence is about, okay, I get an opportunity. I'm looking forward to that opportunity. I'm excited about that opportunity. Okay, so that's where we need to build the confidence and the skill simultaneously.
And the keys to build that confidence, how would you say the keys? What are
The keys to build, I mean, confidence, again, it's a mindset, right? It starts with the mind, as you said, with the right mind, body, and spirit. It starts with the mind. The best thing to help the learners develop a positive attitude towards anything around them. I'm not talking about being too optimistic or yes, being optimistic is good. They can be realists, but they need to have a positive attitude towards whatever they do. That is the first step. And what I see, first step of, oh, I hate to do this, I hate this, is not going to help in building confidence in any activity that we do. So developing that attitude of positivity and helping them understand what they are helping them understand their strengths and weaknesses is what is going to be the key to build their confidence.
Okay. Well, I just love that you've been sharing your pearls of wisdom. Thank you for sharing. Are there any last pearls you'd like to share?
I think it was a wonderful opportunity, Jill. You are doing a phenomenal work. Empowering educators is one important thing that I truly believe in. It's very close to my heart, because the moment we are able to create awesome educators in the world is going to be a better place. And we are going to have beautiful leaders. We are going to have excellent people around for the future. And yes, I'm glad to be part of this step and looking forward to doing more.
And I want to acknowledge that you're being very generous to share a personal connection to you and Inspire Academy through the gift you're offering, the pre-orientation assessment meeting, which is a real invitation into like, how can you as an educator or a school make personal improvement plan, right?
Yeah. So that is what we believe in. Do the things the right way. So whenever we are doing our programs, we help people improve confidence, improve communication skills, or leadership skills. And our clients are from all walks of life. We have doctors, we have teachers, we have lawyers, and we have technologists and pharmacists and any profession. So we have those people as our clientele. And each and every time we work towards making them learn the skills to make success a habit. And that is what our motto is. And making success a habit, that way we are able to enjoy every day. We are not having our Monday blues. We are able to go to work and be excited about it. And that way we are able to perform and make a big change in the community that we are in. And for that, we need to understand where we are first, and then where we want to be. And that way we are able to make the transition clearly. And that is why we are offering this assessment and the orientation, which is going to help learners understand where they need to be and where they are right now, and then come up with a custom-made facilitation session.
Mm-hmm. And it really does help shift the planet once we like help build the movement, right? It starts off small, but it gains momentum, and we really can make a difference. There's so much time and energy put into education. People spend so much of their lives within that field. Why not really have it be a path for our conscious growth? And I see you as a leader in that front. And I just say thank you to you for your energy. Thank you for your wisdom. And thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity that you gave me and the platform to share my ideas and views. And thank you for that.
Namaste.
Mm-hmm.